seminary, but he's known across the country as some preacher. I call him the rapid fire preacher. Rapid fire, bam, 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 bam. Just different style. All of us don't have the same style, and we have to use the styles that we have. It's good to see several of my colleagues in the audience. Dr. Lisa Allen, I gotta get, I've got to get your full name down now. But anyway, Dr. Allen, and she's now married, and Dr. Welcho, who is the CME scholar himself in terms of his contributions, amen, to the CME Church. I want to talk with you for a few minutes from, it's a written piece that I'm finishing up. One of the things that I do is when people ask me to give presentations like Dr. Thomas in different parts of the country, at this age, I'm more intentional now about writing it out and developing it into an article for publication. And even if I don't publish it, leave it in my collection because some of it is things that I'm struggling with after 30 and 40, and well, I have been in this work really over 50 years. I started as a young boy and went through the academic process and went straight through and have had the experience not only of the academic community, but I have pastored for almost, in my earlier years, for almost a quarter of a century. I ain't Hagar's children. Ain't Hagar's children. Now, and I had the experience for about a year of doing an intern where I ran into a lot of Bebe's children and had an experience of working with them. And that's a different breed than Ain't Hagar's children. Yeah, you understand. But I want to talk with you. I'm not going to read this paper. I'm going to draw, in terms of looking at it, to draw some comments. But I have been around long enough to know our culture, and most of us have a hard time with the ear. That is, the critical ear for listening to written word. We can listen to a written sermon, but a written lecture generally puts us to sleep. Now, the written sermon, the preacher generally has enough rapid fire that he's, he keeps us awake. But here's what I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with, after teaching at the seminary, and I've taught at the Research University even before seminary, but after teaching at the seminary for over 30 years now, I'm struggling with the black church, the seminary, the ethical dilemma of the making of the black preacher. The ethical dilemma of the making of the black preacher. Now, this is not shouting material, okay? So I want to share that with you before I start. I really want you to struggle with me and help me, because I will be 72 years old in April, if the good Lord lets me live. And I have worked with my people practically all of my life. Even when I worked in the mainline white university, I was working with my people in the margins, okay? And at this point in my journey, I am quite disturbed and troubled by where I see us and where we might be headed over against where we have been. One of the theses that I want to posit is that the only way you can understand the making of the black preacher with all of the morphing and all of the changes that have taken place, we have got to go back to slavery. There's just no way of getting around it. I know that a whole lot of us don't want to deal with that traumatic nightmare in the historical experience of our journey. But slavery is something that we can't get around as a people, as a permanently suntan people. Slavery is something that white America can't get around. And we keep trying to do it and stumbling over ourselves. And nothing is more glaring evidence of that than for us to have one of African descent in the White House. That, while we have celebrated that experience emotionally, we have not been able to deal with it politically because we can't get any high political returns on that great feat. And when it's over, we will probably it will just be a moment in our history of emotional catharsis, to where we felt good about it. But what did we really get out of it? We are losing more black historical schools now than ever. So slavery will have to be faced. W.E.B. Du Bois says that the Negro preacher in America, and we call him the black preacher now, or the African-American preacher, but that he is, and we have to say she now, she is the making, is a Western world phenomenon. Now, there were religious leaders on the continent of Africa, but they were not Christian preachers. They were not Christian preachers, because that was not a Christian worldview that they brought us from. The black preacher, he said, is both, he really portrayed the black preacher in this way. A chief, the African chief, right? A politician, in some cases, medical, almost a voodoo doctor type, a conjurer. And he said, a boss. Now, all of these attributes wrapped up in one personality called the Negro preacher. And we had to be that. We became the leaders of our people in the best sense of the story. But there's a dark side of the story. We also were used by the other people to exploit our people. Now, that's the part that we have a hard time dealing with. But I'm old enough to remember pastoring as a young boy during the civil rights movement, when the greatest challenge in the town that I was in, that the people who ruled that town, the whites who ruled that town, sought to control me through some of the key black preachers in the town. And, oh, you know about it, don't you, brother? And there were generally two types of leaders in those towns that they used: the black preacher and the black principal of the school. And they were the bosses. You had to come by them. And if the white people said, run him out of this town, they led the charge to get you out. So that is a kind of portrait of our past and what we came out of, because we had to live between two extremes. Our people who are oppressed and victimized in slavery on the one hand, and the people who oppressed us and victimized us on the other. And we had to live with that double consciousness of being, who do we be loyal to? Who do we share our commitment to? And of course, in the best sense of the word, we often lived in trying to keep and dance between both of those extreme poles. Now, the white plantation master used us as, and I've gone back and looked at it, Dr. Welchel, in terms of how did this history first develop, that they would even call us preachers, because at first they would not ordain us. And this is what we forget in all of our black denominations. We forgot, men, that we once were not allowed to be ordained by the white ruling class. And yet, some of us, not now because we've been liberated, but there were some of us who fought the ordaining of females to the ministry. And I always ask brothers when they struggle with that, how can you forget that we once were not allowed to be ordained as black men by the white ruling class of the society? We operate as though we have always been ordained. We have always been allowed to be ordained. No, we were not. We were considered, we were used as, by the white preachers on the plantations, we were used as the conveyors of the gospel. Well, I really like to put it this way. We were the reformulators of the white man's sermon. The reformulators. The white man, we stood, and there, I mean, Dr. Welchel knows that he's a historian of high quality, and he knows the story. He knows how that they would take us, and we would stand and listen to the white preacher give what they call the instructions to the slaves. And it was the white preacher's job, black preacher's job, to repeat what the white preacher said word for word. So in the face of the white preacher, we were the repeaters. We were the repeaters of the gospel story. Whatever he said, we said it. Now, when we got in the brush hoppers and in the private spaces away from the earshot of the plantation owner, of the master, we became the reformulators of what he said. And the question was, the slaves would ask of the preacher, of the black preacher in that day, was, what did he, when he would, for instance, the slave master would say, the Bible says, you slaves, obey your masters, for it is what?